Hey guys. Tonight we're diving into a story that begins in shadows. The kind that linger in the corners of old houses and hearts that never learned how to love properly. Imagine a child's room wallpapered with faded jungle animals. But the air's too cold for comfort, and the silence too heavy for lullabies. You're standing barefoot on cracked linoleum, listening to muffled arguments downstairs that always end with your name being spoken like it's a stain. This one's about growing up as the mistake, until something your daughter finds years later presses rewind on everything. And hey, you probably won't survive this emotional roller coaster without a blanket, a snack, and maybe a stuffed animal, for moral support. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me where you're watching from, and what time your clock says. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're 7 years old the first time you overhear it. The word mistake. Whispered. Spat. Crooked like a paperclip in the mouth of your aunt, who didn't know you were standing just outside the hallway. And it sticks. You don't fully understand it, but you wear it like a hidden tattoo. Burned. Invisible, yours. Your mother doesn't look at you when she pours cereal. Her movements are precise, mechanical. The only softness she shows is toward your older brothers. Sons who look like her, act like her, and were apparently born at the correct time. You? You came too late. Or maybe too early. Depends who's telling the story that day. You ask once about your dad. Just once. It's Christmas Eve, and your school play made you feel brave. You hold your handmade shepherd's crook, and between bites of a sugar cookie, you ask her where he is. She doesn't flinch, she freezes. Then, he left. Don't talk about him again. And you don't. Not for years. What they don't tell you in school is that feeling invisible is its own kind of trauma. You start reading history books not just to learn, but to disappear into them. Queen Elizabeth I wore lead-based makeup that slowly poisoned her. How poetic is that? Loving the thing that kills you. You devour every page, looking for a version of yourself. Someone unwanted, maybe, but someone who still mattered. By high school, you've developed what your counselor calls resilience, which really just means you've gotten good at not crying where anyone can see. You volunteer at the library to avoid going home. You get straight A's, but no one claps. No one comes to graduation. It's fine. You're used to clapping for yourself. You leave town after graduation like you're escaping a burning house. You don't look back, except once, in the rearview mirror. That's when you see your childhood home, still and dark, like it's exhaling for the first time without you in it. College is the first place where people choose to know you, where you get invited to things without someone nudging you in as an afterthought. You're not the loudest, not the most confident, but when someone jokes, "You must have been a teacher's pet growing up," you just laugh instead of explaining. There's a kind of quiet freedom in letting them think you had a normal family. You meet someone. She's kind, gentle, curious. You tell her early on, "I don't really have a family." And she says, "Cool, we'll make our own." And you do. Your daughter is born in spring, when everything smells like wet dirt and second chances. Holding her the first time, you don't feel fear. You feel defiance. This baby will never wonder if she was loved. Her laugh becomes the house's heartbeat. And for a while, you forget to wonder about the shadows you grew up in. Until the day she asks, "What was Grandpa like?" The question feels like a pin pulled from a grenade. You say, "I don't know. He died before I could ask." And that's mostly true. What you didn't say is, no one let you ask. His name was taboo, like a spell you weren't allowed to say out loud. You never even saw a picture of him. But now, your daughter's curiosity becomes contagious. You find yourself going back, not physically. God, no. But mentally. replaying the old silences, the cold breakfasts, the arguments at family gatherings where someone always changed the subject too fast. Then one weekend, helping your daughter build a birdhouse in your backyard, you hit something odd buried near the toolshed. A piece of plywood, slightly warped, with a seam that doesn't belong. And that's when everything changes. Because you don't just find a board, you find a message. It's late afternoon when your hammer finds the hollow thud, the sun slanting through the fence like lazy gold fingers, and your daughter's already lost interest in the birdhouse project. She's off chasing a ladybug with a paintbrush like it owes her money. You kneel down, brush back dirt, and see it. A warped section in the shed's inner wall, just behind the shelves where your uncle used to stack pesticide and regret. You feel along the edges. Click. It gives. The panel swings open, just enough to show you a glimpse of something wrapped in cloth. You expect a nest of spiders or, knowing your family's luck, a squirrel skeleton in a prom dress. Instead, it's a box, black plastic, heavy with the kind of significance you can feel before you even know why. You call your daughter over. She kneels beside you, curious, not yet old enough to sense that the air's shifted. There's no label at first, but then you turn it. Tape on the side, faded Sharpie. For her when she's ready. No name, no date, just that. You don't know whether her is you or your daughter. But it doesn't matter. You're shaking. She sees it. Is it a treasure? She asks. You nod. It might be. Inside the box, a camcorder. A thick one. Early 2000s, the kind people used when jeans were baggy and everyone thought MySpace would last forever. There are also 3 tapes, numbered. One says, "Start here." You don't touch anything else that night. You wait. You light a candle. You tuck your daughter in. And when the house is quiet, you sit on the edge of the couch, alone, camcorder in your lap like it's an old friend you've never met. You click play, and there he is. Your dad. You expect a grainy image, maybe some muffled audio, but no. It's crisp. His face is clear, lined, serious but not unkind. He's seated at a table, probably in this same shed, judging by the wall paneling behind him. He looks into the camera like he's been waiting years to do it. "Hey, baby," he says. You freeze. Your body does this thing, tightens and breaks open all at once. You haven't heard his voice in decades, and now it's speaking to you. "You're probably grown now," he says. "And if this got to you, it means no one destroyed it." "That's a miracle." You laugh. A short, startled laugh, because of course he knew someone would try to erase him, and probably you. "First things first," he says. "You weren't a mistake. Not ever. You were the reason I stayed sane that last year." He pauses, lets it land. "I know they told you I left, that I ran, but you've got my blood, and I know you already figured out that wasn't the whole story." Your chest tightens. The couch feels too small. You sit forward, as if distance might make the next truth hit softer. It doesn't. They didn't want me to have you. And when I refused to walk away, they cut me out. Not just from you, but from the family. My own brothers. Your mom. They said I was damaged. That war had made me paranoid. But I wasn't paranoid, sweetheart. I was paying attention. That phrase. It clangs against something in your memory. A Thanksgiving where your aunt said, "He got weird after the army," and your uncle muttered, "He couldn't let it go." Turns out, it was you. Your dad leans in, his eyes full of something deeper than sorrow. "They told me to disappear, said it'd be better for you. I didn't agree, so they made sure I didn't get the chance to prove it." Pause. Breath. He glances off camera, then back. "You need to know what kind of man I was, not just what they said I was. I fought in Desert Storm, came back with shrapnel in my thigh, and a head full of ghosts. But I loved you. God, I loved you. Your palms are slick now. Your heart's a percussion line. You never had this version of your dad. Not in stories, not in photos. But here he is, confessing from beyond the grave. Like it's a courtroom and you're the only jury that matters. I left these tapes in case one day you wanted to know the truth, and I hope you do. Because you deserve to know how hard I tried to stay. The tape cuts out there. Not abruptly, just deliberately. You sit back. There's a lot to process. And your brain, always your most loyal protector, jumps to historical trivia for comfort. Did you know the first home video camera weighed over 27 pounds and had to be plugged into a VCR the size of a microwave? Some historians argue that the shift from analog to digital memory actually weakened emotional recall. Too much data, not enough meaning. But this isn't data. This is memory resurrected. Your daughter pads into the room, rubbing her eyes. Did the treasure say anything? You look at her. This small, wide-eyed echo of yourself. Yeah, you whisper. It said I wasn't a mistake. The next morning smells like cinnamon toast and 1,000 unsaid things. Your daughter hums while pouring milk into her cereal like nothing's changed. But you can't unsee what you saw. You replay your dad's words in your head while loading the dishwasher, folding laundry, tying her shoes. Every chore now feels like a countdown to the next tape. You wait until nightfall. The second tape has a red sticker on it, faded, almost pink now. You slip it into the camcorder, press play, and brace yourself. Your dad appears again, this time outside. Wind pushes at his shirt. You can just make out the outline of the shed in the background. If you made it to this one, he says, squinting into the sun, then I guess you're not too mad at me. You're not. You're not even sure what you are. Grieving someone you were told to forget is a weird kind of grief. It's like missing a song you've never heard, or feeling homesick for a place you never lived. I want to tell you about how I met your mom, he says. Because I think you need the full picture. You lean forward. She was dazzling, he continues. Sharp as hell. Your grandmother never liked me, thought I was too blue-collar. But your mom, she didn't care. We met at a volunteer event after I got back from overseas. I was stacking canned goods. She was in charge of logistics. She told me I was chaotic and inefficient. And I told her she was a clipboard with legs. We were married 4 months later. You smile. She got pregnant with your brothers first. Everyone approved. But when she found out she was pregnant with you, everything shifted. Your throat tightens. You know what's coming, but hearing it is different. She didn't want another baby, said we couldn't afford it. I said we'd find a way. But when I insisted on keeping you, she froze me out. Literally. I came home one day and the locks were changed. No note, just gone. Your mind races. You remember that year. A blur of moving houses. Your mother's short fuse. The way no one explained why you weren't allowed in certain rooms. You always assumed you were the disruption, the leftover. Turns out, you were the line your father refused to cross. I tried, sweetheart, he says. Courts wouldn't help. Her family made sure I looked unstable. And maybe I was, a little. But only from the pain of being cut off from you. He sighs, long and quiet. Historians still argue whether Caesar's downfall was due more to personal betrayal or political ambition. I used to think betrayal was survivable. But losing access to your child? That's a whole different kind of death. He pauses. Wind rustles behind him. Maybe a dog barks in the distance. Your aunt called me a coward. Said I vanished because I didn't want the responsibility. But I think you're old enough now to know. Not every absence is chosen. Some are engineered. You think of that hallway conversation, the one when you were 7, the word mistake. You remember your aunt's voice, clipped and cold, saying something like, "It's better this way. He's not fit to raise a child." "I kept journals," your dad says. "I put some in the attic of my old rental house. I don't know if they'll still be there, but if they are, you'll find everything. Letters I wrote but never sent. A drawing you made in preschool that your teacher mailed me behind your mother's back. I kept it in my wallet for years." Your heart lurches. You try to remember the drawing. Was it the one with stick figures holding hands under a rainbow? The one where you misspelled dad as dab? "I'm sorry for every birthday I missed. Every scraped knee I didn't kiss. But mostly, I'm sorry that people who claim to love you made you think you were disposable." The tape crackles for a second. He looks down, then back up. "But here's the thing," he says softly. "You survived. Which means they didn't win. And maybe you've got a kid of your own now. If you do, give her everything, especially the truth." The screen freezes, then goes black. This time, you don't cry. You sit for a while, eyes dry but heart soaked, and for some reason, your mind drifts to Cleopatra. Not the drama queen from the movies, but the real one. The one who spoke 9 languages, ran an empire, and used perfume-soaked sails to announce her arrival. Historians still debate whether she was more strategist than seductress. But one thing's clear. She never let anyone else define her story. Just like you're about to stop letting others define yours. The next day, you Google the address of your dad's old place. It's 3 towns over, still standing. Still has the rusted mailbox with the lopsided red flag. You grab your daughter, pack a snack, and drive. The house's new owner turns out to be a woman with a nose ring and a golden retriever that barks, exactly once before licking your daughter's hand like it's covered in peanut butter. You explain the situation. She shrugs. "Attic's yours. Bring a flashlight." The crawl space smells like insulation and nostalgia. You move boxes, swat away cobwebs, and then you see them. 3 journals. One labeled "Letters to Her." You sit down on the attic floor, cross-legged like a kid at story time. The handwriting's messy, familiar. "Dear baby girl." You read every page until your legs go numb, and somehow, piece by piece, the past starts gluing itself back together. The journals become your new religion. You read them in bed, on lunch breaks, while your daughter plays dress-up beside you. Each entry is like unlocking a memory that never belonged to you, but somehow still feels like home. The ink smudges, the sarcastic tone, the way he signs some pages with doodles instead of names. Tiny stick figure versions of you both, usually, holding swords or wearing pirate hats. Your father had a wit that swerved between goofy and profound. Like one entry from a week after you were born. "She looks like a burrito with eyes. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and a suspicious glare. Definitely mine." In another, historians still argue whether Atlantis was a myth or simply a city swallowed by the sea. If it ever existed, I hope it felt as miraculous as watching her breathe while she sleeps. You keep turning the pages even when it hurts, because sometimes it does. He writes about being denied visitation, about showing up to court only to find the hearing was rescheduled without telling him. He mentions letters that were returned unopened, gifts that were never passed on. He questions his own sanity. There's one heartbreaking line that stops you cold. "If she ever grows up thinking I didn't love her, then the world owes her an apology carved into the moon." You sit with that one for a while. Your daughter notices. She puts her hand on yours and says, "Is that from Grandpa?" You nod. She smiles. He writes funny. You smile back, but it's slow. Because grief is sneaky. It likes to dress up as laughter when you're not watching. Eventually, your daughter asks the question you've been avoiding. Why didn't Grandma let him stay? You exhale. You don't have an easy answer, because it's not just one reason. It's a stew of fear, Family politics, control, shame. Maybe even love, twisted into something unrecognizable. You try to explain. Sometimes, you say, people think protecting you means hiding parts of the truth. But love that hides things eventually hurts more than it helps. She nods, like she gets it. Kids are better at big ideas than adults give them credit for. Later that week, you bring the tapes and journals to your aunt's house. Not to fight, but to finish something. She's older now. Softer around the edges. Still wears those sharp blazers, though, like she's ready for a courtroom ambush at any moment. You sit across from her, hands on the table, and slide the tapes forward. I watched them, you say. She doesn't flinch, but her mouth tightens like a drawstring bag. Thought you might, she says. I was hoping you'd leave it alone. Why? You ask. Her gaze flicks toward the window, because sometimes digging up the past just gives you blisters. You open the first journal and turn it around so she can read a passage. It's a silly one, about the time he tried to bake you a birthday cake in a toaster oven and ended up with what he called charcoal lasagna. Your aunt stares at the words like they're written in a language she forgot. Her fingers twitch. She whispers, I remember that. He told me. I told him it was pathetic. There's a long silence. The kind where years echo in the walls. Finally, she looks up. I didn't hate him, you know. I just didn't trust him. Not after he came back from the war. What happened to him? You ask. The truth. She hesitates, then sighs. He had night terrors. Sometimes he'd wake up yelling things. Once he punched a hole in the wall because he thought there were spiders crawling up his arms. Your mom panicked. We all did. But he never hurt anyone? She shakes her head. Never, just himself. Another silence. You ask, why didn't you ever tell me the whole story? She shrugs. Because I was scared that if you knew the kind of pain he carried, you'd love him anyway, and that would mean we were wrong. You don't say anything. You just nod. Because that's the thing about the truth. It doesn't ask for permission. It just waits, patient and quiet, for the day someone finally chooses to listen. You stand, up to leave. As you do, she reaches out and touches your arm. I'm sorry, she says. You weren't a mistake. I shouldn't have ever let you think you were. You don't cry. Not this time. Maybe because there's something powerful about hearing those words after a lifetime of silence. That night, your daughter sets up the camcorder. Says she wants to interview you. What should I ask? She says. You laugh. Whatever you want. She adjusts the tripod like a tiny film director. Okay, first question. What's something you believed when you were little that turned out to be totally wrong? You think for a second, then answer. That my story started in silence. She frowns. What's it start with now? You glance at the camcorder's red blinking light. Playback. You spend the next few weeks digitizing every last tape. Each whir of the camcorder brings your dad's voice back to life. More vibrant now, more human. You hear the crack in his laughter when he tries to sing lullabies off-key. The way he clears his throat before telling bedtime stories that go wildly off the rails. One involves a unicorn with taxes to file. Another features Cleopatra's ghost opening a taco truck. It's strange how comforting chaos can be when it comes from someone who loved you on purpose. You begin editing them together. Not to change the story, but to make it shareable, something your daughter could understand now and maybe one day pass on. You add soft music, titles, little transitions. One part overlays his footage with photos from your childhood, taken by someone else, someone he never met but always imagined. In one frame, your third birthday party. You're surrounded by paper crowns and chocolate cake, holding a toy dinosaur like it's sacred. His voice narrates, She'll never know I sent that dino until she's old enough to read these entries. That's okay. Some gifts arrive early. Some arrive late. The good ones arrive exactly when they're needed. You pause the editing and just sit there, thinking about timelines, about how history works like a necklace, beads scattered across the floor until someone threads them together again. Historians still argue whether the Library of Alexandria was truly burned to the ground in one great fire, or whether it died slowly, one scroll at a time, through neglect and politics. Sometimes, memory isn't lost in a blaze. It just quietly disappears while no one is looking. You won't let that happen again. The finished project ends up being an hour long. You label it plainly, Dad's Messages, for her and for me. You're not sure who it's really for anymore. Your daughter watches it first. She snuggles beside you with a bowl of popcorn, not fully understanding the gravity of what's on screen. She laughs when your dad puts a sock puppet on his hand and calls it Sir Tobean. She claps when he makes silly predictions like, by 2025, hover skateboards will be required for school entry. Then there's a part where he stops, looks directly into the camera. Quiet. Still. His voice comes in low. If you're seeing this, then I guess I didn't get to say this in person. And that really sucks. But here's what doesn't suck. You. You're probably older now. Maybe you've even done some wild stuff I'll never get to hear about. But I hope you know. Every day I missed, I imagined. Every birthday, every scraped knee, every ridiculous school play. You were always with me, even when you weren't allowed to be. Your daughter doesn't say anything, just curls up under your arm and keeps watching. You don't cry this time either. The tears already came. This part is something else, acceptance maybe, or the quiet kind of joy that hurts a little in your ribs. You upload the video privately. Share it with just 3 people, your aunt, your mom, and your daughter's future inbox. Scheduled delivery when she turns 18. But that's not the end, because something stirs inside you after sharing it. A restlessness. A sense that maybe this story was never just for your family. So, you make a choice. You submit a segment to a local storytelling night, one of those intimate open mic things held in coffee shops that smell like nutmeg and nervousness. You tell the audience about the tapes, the journals, the quiet kind of love that refuses to vanish even when buried under decades of silence. They listen. Some wipe tears. A few nod like they've lived the same story in different skin. Afterwards, a woman in a flannel coat tells you, "My dad died before I was born. I never thought to ask if he left anything behind. Maybe I should." A man with silver hair and shaking hands simply says, "Thank you. I needed that." And that's when it clicks. You weren't just telling your story. You were holding up a mirror. The next week, you pitch the story to a small podcast. They love it. A few months later, a video version appears on a feel-good media channel with a title that stings in all the right ways. They called me a mistake, then my daughter. Pressed play. You watch the view count rise in quiet disbelief. Then come the comments. Cried through the whole thing. Calling my dad now. I was that mistake, too. Thank you for this. Turns out my mom hid letters from my bio dad. This unlocked something I didn't even know I buried. One day, you get a letter in the mail. Real paper. No return. Address. Inside is a photo of your dad, one you've never seen before. He's in uniform, holding a sign that reads, "See you soon, burrito girl." No note, no explanation. You hold it to your chest. The past never ends, you realize. It just keeps unspooling like magnetic tape, looping through the heads of memory, waiting for someone brave enough to press play. You frame the photo. It goes up on the shelf beside your daughter's drawing of a dinosaur in a tutu and a lava lamp that hasn't worked since 2014. Your house is a strange museum now, equal parts grief, glitter, and revival. And in a weird way, It feels more like home than it ever did before. But not everyone's thrilled with your viral fame. Your mother calls. Not a text. A real call. That alone should have tipped you off something was coming. You answer cautiously, the same way archaeologists approach tombs with strange curses etched into the walls. I saw the video, she says. You breathe. Quietly. Okay. There's a pause. Then she adds, You made me look like the villain. You try to keep your voice steady. I didn't make you look like anything. I just told the truth. And your version of the truth, she replies sharply, conveniently leaves out the years I held you through fevers, the nights I worked double shifts. I never said you didn't do those things. Another pause. This one brittle. You could have asked me why I made the choices I did, she says finally. You sigh. You had 20 years to tell me. You didn't. She doesn't respond. Because it's not about blame anymore. It's about the years you weren't given. The letters she kept. The versions of you that could have existed, but didn't. And yet, even with all that, you don't hate her. Not anymore. Because history is rarely a straight line. More like one of those old Norse runestones, winding, cryptic, possibly invented, by someone who was tipsy on mead. Historians still argue whether Viking berserkers truly fought in drug-fueled frenzies, or if that was just bad PR spread by terrified monks. Either way, the truth got mangled in the storytelling. You think of your father, holding a camcorder instead of a sword. No frenzy, just clarity, just love. Your mom breaks the silence. I thought I was protecting you. I know, you say. But sometimes protection and control wear the same clothes. You don't expect her to apologize. But she does. I'm sorry. For the lies. And for calling you a mistake. You blink. That last part. Those words. You didn't think you'd ever hear them reversed. I didn't mean it, she adds. I was overwhelmed, scared, angry that he left, angry that he came back, angry that you reminded me of him in every way that counted. It doesn't undo the past, but it loosens the knot. You offer to send her the full uncut video. She says she'd like that. Later that night, you and your daughter take a walk. The stars are out, scattered like glitter on velvet. She skips beside you, swinging your hand like a jump rope. Do you think Grandpa can see us? She asks. You smile. I don't know, but I think he left enough of himself behind that we don't really have to ask. You point out the constellations. She gives them new names. Orion becomes the Banana Night. Cassiopeia somehow is now Grandma's weird chair. She looks up at you. Do you think I'll ever forget him? You shake your head. Not if I have anything to do with it. You tell her about oral history, how in ancient cultures, before paper, before YouTube, people passed down stories around fires, under stars. That in West Africa, griots could recite generations of family trees from memory alone. That in Jewish tradition, even the gaps in genealogy are marked as sacred, as if the missing names still echo. Stories make people stay, you say. Like ghosts? She asks. Better than ghosts, you answer. Stories don't haunt. They guide. She nods, then announces she's going to make a book about Grandpa. With stickers, and glitter glue, and maybe some facts about dinosaurs. Just to spice it up. You agree it's a solid editorial direction. Back home, you open your laptop. There's a message waiting, from a man named Paul. Says he served with your dad, sent by someone who saw the video. He writes, Your dad saved my life. Twice, technically. Once during a mission. Once when he refused to give up on me after. He used to talk about you constantly, called you his unfinished symphony. I just wanted you to know that. He was proud, even when no one let him show it. You respond with shaky fingers, thanking him, asking if he'd like to share more. He would. He has letters, photos, even a recording of your dad telling a joke in a mess hall, badly impersonating Elvis while balancing a tray on his head. The past isn't done with you. Not by a long shot, but now it feels like a path instead of a prison. You're already planning a trip, a pilgrimage in a way, to where your dad grew up. You want your daughter to see the river he once fell into, the diner he drew cartoons on napkins at. Maybe even meet a few people who knew him before the world got complicated, because he wasn't just your pain. He was also someone's best friend, someone's big brother, someone's corny coworker, someone's impossible-to-forget soldier, and, most importantly, your dad. You pack the suitcase with almost ceremonial care, not because you're going anywhere fancy, just a small town with a diner, 2 traffic lights, and a veterans hall that smells like floor polish and honest regrets. But it matters. Every shirt you fold, every pair of socks you roll, feels like you're preparing for something sacred. Your daughter, meanwhile, has packed only a pink tiara, a plush narwhal, and 6 highlighters. She says it's everything she'll need to solve history. The drive is long and winding, and your GPS dies somewhere between a gas station shaped like a chicken and a billboard advertising America's 3rd best fossil museum. You rely on instinct and the old-fashioned map someone printed for you, the kind with creases like worry lines. Historians still argue whether early road maps actually helped travelers or just caused more creative swearing. When you arrive, you're struck by the quiet. This isn't the quiet of absence. It's the kind that hums beneath everything. The kind that holds memories like breath. You recognize the school from the photo. The rusted jungle gym is still there, as if waiting for some reunion. You pause and imagine your dad at 10, maybe 12, missing a front tooth, climbing something. He shouldn't. A scraped knee full of future stories. At the town archive, you meet a woman named Janice. She runs the place and looks like she's been doing it since the Reagan administration. "You're Fred's kid?" she asks, squinting over her glasses. You've got his eyes. You're not sure what to say, so you nod. She pulls out a cardboard, box labeled Fred W. Misk. You brace yourself for, well, anything. Inside, a comic book drawn in pencil on lined paper, a letter to a pen pal in Germany, a school photo with a crooked grin and hair that defies physics, a detention slip for something involving a frog and the principal's coffee. You laugh, and, surprisingly, you cry. Because this isn't the man you mourned in theory. This is the boy who became him. This is the awkward, hopeful, wild-hearted version no one told you about. And now he belongs to you. Your daughter points to a Polaroid of your dad with a dog. Was that ours? You shake your head. Before us. She studies the image. He looked happy. He was. You don't mean to say that with such certainty, but it comes out anyway. Maybe because it's true. Maybe because some truths just sit there, waiting for someone brave enough to claim them. Later, you visit the diner. It hasn't changed. The same red stools, the same jukebox that still plays songs that smell like malt and leather in summer. You slide into the booth he used to sit in, your daughter across from you, coloring in a map she found at the archive. She's labeled the river Grandpa's Water Slide. You order his favorite, grilled cheese and black coffee. The waitress, a woman in her 70s with eyeliner that could slice glass, smiles when you tell her who you are. He used to draw cartoons on napkins, she says, digging into a drawer. I kept one. She hands it over. A simple sketch, a superhero with huge ears and a coffee cup as a weapon. Below, a caption reads, Captain Bean saves the day, again. You laugh, and it sounds like him. You realize something else then. Grief is not the end of love. It's just love's last shadow before memory takes over, before stories bloom, before kids write picture books with glitter glue that include footnotes about velociraptors. You and your daughter take one last stop, Veterans Hall. It's mostly empty. A few old-timers sit near the coffee urn, playing cards and trying not to talk about their feelings. You walk in with your daughter holding your hand and a folder of photos under your arm. One of the men, Paul from the message, spots you and stands. Didn't think you'd actually come. I had to, you say. He takes you to the memorial wall. Your father's name is there, engraved beside dozens of others. But that's not what gets you. It's the bulletin board beside it, pinned with photos, cartoons, and a napkin drawing of Captain Bean, now laminated. Paul points to it. We tell stories about your dad here, mostly the funny ones. Some of the hard ones, too. He was a better man than people gave him credit for. You nod. I'm finding that out. You and your daughter leave something behind, a photo from the day she pressed play. Her holding the camcorder, you in the background, blurry but smiling. You pin it up, right next to Captain Bean. That night, back at the motel, your daughter curls into your side. I'm glad we came, she whispers. Me too. She adds, we should keep telling his story. You kiss the top of her head. We will. That's how people live forever. You think about how some stories stay buried until someone presses play, until someone refuses to let memory vanish into shame, until someone decides a mistake was never a mistake at all, but an unfinished symphony worth finishing. You turn off the light, and in the quiet hum of a motel air conditioner and the soft breath of your daughter, you feel it. Not closure, not exactly, but peace, the kind you fought for, the kind you inherited, the kind you get to pass on.